What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another very exciting video. In this video, we are going to be going over one of the stocks that I do personally own, and that is SoFi Technologies. And SoFi Technologies, in my opinion, is a very interesting company because over the next year or two, they are predicting that they are going to get to profitability. So what we're going to do in this video is we are going to actually open up their Q4 earnings report straight off their website and take a deep look into some of their numbers. Some of their numbers have actually been going very, very well, and there are other numbers that have been going down. And it seems like there's a strategic reason for that, where SoFi has actually pivoted really well over the last couple of years, as we've seen a lot of changes, whether it be in interest rates, loans, whatever it may be. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take a look at all of those numbers. I'm going to give my opinion on it. So if you enjoy the video, make sure you drop a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. Let's start off by taking a look at SoFi's chart. We can see here today, the stock is up a little over 6%. If we look at the last 5 days, we can actually see the stock is up a little over 4%. For the last month, it's down a little under 6%. And then for the 6-month chart, we actually see something very interesting. So they announced their last earnings call, the earnings that we are going to look at in this video, on January 30th. And we could see that the stock ran up into earnings and then continued to run up after earnings. And this is something we have seen on a consistent basis for SoFi. We actually see here a very significant move. The stock moved up over 75%, but then after earnings is announced, basically investors seem to sell out of their shares and the stock runs back down, and we can see that it ran down around 32%. So there are a lot of big moves here with SoFi, and it seems like it really just hasn't established an investor base that is holding for the long term. There are a lot of short-term earnings plays going on with SoFi Technologies. I believe over time that will change. I think a lot more long-term investors will get into SoFi Technologies once they start seeing the company hit profitability. So the first thing I wanted to do in this video is show you guys how to actually get to their earnings report. So if you Google SoFi Technology earnings, you will actually get to this page. And then if you scroll down to their first result, you can see that SoFi's financial quarterly results is actually the result here. And if you click on it, it actually brings you to SoFi's website, and you could see that they have their Q4 report, their Q3, their Q2, Q1 for 2022. And then you can actually come all the way down here and actually look at their 2021 numbers as well if you would like. But what we are going to be looking at is Q4 2022. And then if you click this button, you will actually get to the same results that we are going to look at in this video here today. And SoFi is actually pretty smart with how they have laid out their earnings report. So we can see here on page 3, they already have their members numbers, and these numbers are represented in the thousands. So we can see for Q4 of 2022, they have 5.2 billion users. And if we compare that to Q4 of 2021, where they had 3.4 billion users, we can see that that is almost a 50% increase in users year over year. And a lot of this growth is actually fueled by the introduction of SoFi's checking and savings accounts. And this falls into their financial products and services. And we can see that these numbers from 2021 have actually grown in a very significant way. They have gone from 4.1 billion to 6.5 billion. And when we compare that to their lending products, we can see that their lending products have been relatively flat. They went from 1 billion products to 1.3 billion. Over the last 3 years, we have seen a lot of volatility when it comes to the financial markets. And that is all across the board. We have seen homes being sold at incredible rates, home prices increasing very, very quickly. We have seen interest rates down to 2.5%. We've seen them all the way up to 7%. We have seen the student loans being forgiven and frozen, and it's been all over the board. And SoFi has done an excellent job of adapting to these rapid changes in the marketplace. And we can kind of see that here with some of their loan numbers. In terms of personal loans, for 2022, they're sitting at $2.5 billion in personal loans. When we compare that to 2021, we can see that their number was sitting at 1.6 billion, and that is a 50% increase year over year in that number. But when we look at student loans and home loans, we can see that that has changed in a different way. We can see that student loans have actually declined 72% and home loans have declined 84%. And that honestly makes sense for the marketplace. When we think about student loans, they have been frozen over the last year or so. So it really doesn't make sense for SoFi to pursue customers in that area. And same thing with home loans. Home loans has a little bit more to do with the actual home industry right now. As interest rates have increased, a lot less people are looking to buy homes or move. So that number has also declined. And again, it doesn't make sense for them to advertise and try and bring in new customers if there aren't customers out there that are really looking to either refinance or move or purchase new homes. As I mentioned earlier, a large catalyst for SoFi's growth is their checkings and savings accounts. And they actually grew their total deposits by 46% during the fourth quarter to $7.3 billion at the end of the quarter. And 88% of those money deposits are coming from direct deposit members, which that is huge because that is basically reoccurring money coming into people's accounts. And the more money that you are able to get into a bank, basically they are able to use that to create and generate more revenue for them. Like we have seen with basically SVB, right? They had a bunch of deposits over a short period of time in 2020 and 2021. And what that did for them is that allowed them to basically buy government bonds. And obviously on the back end, that put them into a very bad situation. But for SoFi, they're actually in a very different situation because they're getting a lot of these new deposits in a time where interest rates are very high. So they can buy government bonds at higher rates. And hopefully over time, if we see interest rates actually drop down, we'll see those assets increase in value in terms of their government bond value. And really all of this growth is helping them get to profitability a lot quicker. We could see that for the fourth quarter of 2022, they actually had a loss of 5 cents per share. And when we compare that to 2021, we could see that they lost 15 cents per share. So they have reduced that number by 3x. And when we look at the total year, we could see that for 2022, they lost 40 cents per share, and compared to 2021, where they lost $1 per share. So they are accelerating basically how quickly they can get to profitability. And a lot of people at the company have been talking about trying to hit profitability sometime in the back half of 2022. And hopefully we can have the first full year of profitability in 2024, or at the very latest 2025. And we actually see those numbers accelerating towards profitability in a more significant way when we look at their net loss versus their EBITDA. So we could see that their net loss at the start of the year for the first 2 quarters of 2022 was actually around $100 billion. And when we compare that to their EBITDA, we see that their EBITDA actually at the first quarter was under $10 billion. But now by the fourth quarter, they've actually got their net losses all the way down to $40 billion and their EBITDA all the way up to $70 billion. So we are seeing a lot of these numbers really increasing in a very significant way in terms of EBITDA and decreasing in a significant way in terms of their net losses, which is exactly what you want to see in terms of a company starting to get to profitability. And with all that said, earnings season is right around the corner, and SoFi is expected to report their earnings on May 9th of 2023, and they are expected to report a loss per share of 8 cents for the first quarter. Overall, I do like SoFi for the long term. I think right now they have a lot of investors that are using it as an earnings play, and I think that as they get to profitability, we'll start seeing a lot more long-term investors jumping into the company and just buying and holding the company, creating more stability around its stock price. And that's what I think will actually help drive the price up. As we get more investors in that are buy and hold, basically it'll create more of a bottom on the stock so it won't fall down after earnings as it does so significantly, and we have seen over the last few quarters. So I hope you enjoyed the video, but make sure, as always, you do not buy a company just because some random guy on YouTube talked about it. Make sure you are doing your own research and looking into balance sheets. And I hope we kind of gave you an insight on what I personally look for when I'm looking at a balance sheet for a company. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. And as always, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day.